Hey everyone, this is JJ White Ministries. This is Dr. Judy, and this is my husband, Elder Joe. And today we want to share with you our love story because there are many of you that are out there who are desiring to be married, and maybe you've been through a marriage already and you've been through a divorce and you just feel like it can never happen for you again. We want to give you hope. We want to share our story with you. So I'll just jump right in, hon.
Yeah, go ahead, love.
So I am someone who has been divorced, unfortunately, but you know, God has a way of bringing us back to a place where he gives us another chance. And without going into all of the specifics as to what caused my divorce, I would just say that divorce is devastating. And as I was praying out of my divorce, I desired God to give me another opportunity at marriage. And my journey was very, very long. It was a 17-year journey. Wow.
Wow, that's a long time.
It's a long time. Yeah. I prayed. I remember at the start of my journey, I was praying and asking God for the kind of partner that I wanted, you know, putting all my core values, so to speak, that I wanted to see in a man, the character traits and all of that. And after a while, to be honest, I'm not going to, lie to you, I got discouraged because, to be praying for a year is one thing. To pray for 2 years, I can manage that. But praying for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, and it just kept stacking up. The years were stacking up. And of course, I was getting older and I just felt like, is this going to ever happen? And many times along the journey, I became discouraged thinking, You know what? I think this is it. I think I'm going to spend the rest of my life being single, even though that's not what I desired. And, when we least expect it, God will show up.
Yes, I agree, love. It's amazing because every time we have this discussion or this conversation, I just look at 17 years. Yes. 17 years is like a lifetime for men. So I applaud you, love, to wait that long, hoping and trusting that the Lord will send you someone, one of these days. But I love that you're honest. You said you got discouraged.
Oh, yes.
Could you elaborate to the folks or explain to the folks what discouragement meant, how you felt during that discouragement stage?
I felt discouraged, especially if I was in environments where I saw other couples, or even if they weren't married, if they were just dating, I felt left out. I just felt, honestly, if I'm to be very transparent, at some point in my journey, I started to feel as though something was wrong with me. Like, am I someone that could be loved? Does anyone even look at me? Is anyone even interested in me? And, I felt that I carried myself well and I was serving the Lord and doing all of that, but there weren't any prospects along the way. And I mean, yes, I had a couple, maybe a handful of gentlemen who attempted to express interest in me, but they weren't people of faith. And of course, I wasn't going to waste my time with that. But the discouragement just stemmed from me feeling like the wait was just far too long. And then you're not seeing anything. You're not getting a hint of anything. God is not giving you a glimpse that there's even someone around that is slightly interested in you. So for me, it was a total wilderness experience.
Wow. Yeah. Wilderness. And she talked about wilderness. Wilderness for us sometimes when we're in the wilderness season, it's a season for us to reflect, a season for us to look back, and a season for us to just, ponder on certain things. But God would put us in those seasons to see what we are made of. And it's in those wilderness seasons where we are able to come to rise to the top as God would have it, that we're able to give our testimony. For me, my story is a little bit different. I was 4 years. I got divorced as well. Again, and I always say that when two people are together and a divorce happens, you cannot blame one person. It takes two. It's both. Faults or blame always shared in that relationship or that situation. But for me, when I got out of my relationship, it took me 4 years, but it was 4 years that I wanted to do.
Wow.
It was 4 years that was on my watch. I was like, Lord, I made too many mistakes. I've chosen people just because I want to choose them. I didn't choose them because of you. So in this space, I want to make sure that I'm going to do everything that it takes to walk in obedience, to walk in celibacy, to just serve you in that 4 years. I give myself 4 years to just serve you and let you do what you want to do with me in that season.
But wait a minute now. 4 years is a long time for a man, isn't it?
Oh my goodness.
And I'll just interject before you finish your story. Oftentimes when a divorce happens, usually, I know that there are some exceptions, but usually it seems like it's easier for the man to move on and find another lifetime partner.
It is because, again, we are wired so differently. For us, we'll feel pain and it will bother us, and especially if you have children involved, or it takes on a different dimension with when you have children. But for us, we think differently. As a matter of fact, I've had friends that have gone through divorces and started dating within 6 months.
Oh wow!
And when I ask, even when I counsel people or mentor people, and I'm like, yo, how can 6 months? But again, that's just the nature of us. We think differently when it comes to waiting. We feel that if the relationship is over, it's an opportunity for us to move forward and just pick up the pieces and go on.
Yes.
Whereas my experiences with women, it takes a much longer.
Much longer. I think, not speaking for all women, speak for myself anyway, but, going through a divorce, it's like grieving. It's a loss. It's like you're grieving a great loss in your life. And I think for men, it can be more like starting something new or an opportunity to start over and start something new.
That is correct. I'm going to speak for me. For me, that 4 years was an opportunity for me to really do some serious self-searching. Because I didn't want to go into another relationship with the same baggage, with the same issues, and not transform. Because Romans talked about the renewing of our mind.
Yes.
And I believe the renewing of our mind encompasses the whole body, the whole mind, the whole structure. So I had to really, really go deep and say, you know what, I can't do this. Wow. I have made mistakes, and I just have to make sure that this time around that I'm going to make sure, with the help of the Holy Spirit, with the help of our Lord, that He's going to make that decision for me.
Wow.
And I do understand, and I do believe that God don't give us a wife. And this might be a controversial, but I'm going to say it anyways. I believe that God present people for you. Okay. Because the reason why I say God don't give you a wife, I'm a man of God. I trusted the Lord. I went to a divorce. So if I went to a divorce, so what am I going to, if I said that God gave me that woman,
how do you explain that?
How do I explain that to God that I'm divorced? You gave me that, Lord. Wow. So everything that you give is perfect and in your perfect will. So what is my excuse for that to happen? So I believe that the Lord present so many people to us, and He give us free will and choices to pick and choose our desires.
Right. And that, just to add on to what you said, it just goes to show that, there's not one particular individual for a man or a woman. In other words, there can be many individuals that can make a suitable helpmeet to either a man or a woman. But I think the bottom line is, if we're really seeking God and praying and being directed by the Lord, he presents those individuals, but then it's on us to exercise wisdom and to be led by him to make the best possible choice that we can make. So that whole notion of I'm waiting for God to send Mr. Right or Miss Right into my life, while I get it, I understand what we mean by that, there's really no such thing, because again, there can be so many individuals that could meet the criteria, but then a choice has to be made.
Correct.
Which one out of the 10 is going to be the best partner for you, life partner for you?
And I think the Lord leave that up to us.
Yes.
Because that's what I'm talking about, free will.
Yes.
You know, I think that's where the free will comes into play, because he gives us that free will to make those decisions. The Bible also talks about faith without works is dead. Too often we are praying for a spouse or we are praying for someone and we're not going out and look for that person.
Wow.
So how could you asking the Lord to that you're looking for a husband or wife, but you're not going out there and do the work?
Wow.
You're not presenting yourself.
Yeah.
You're not grooming. You're not doing the things that necessary. You're not renewing your mind. You're not doing the things necessary to be sought of.
Yes, true.
So too often I think for me, it's laziness. I believe that a lot of times, a lot of the sit back and say, the Lord going to do this, that for us. And it's true, because he's a miracle worker. He's all knowing. But there is a part that we must play.
We have to give the Lord something to work with.
Correct.
And this is so good, because it allows me to segue into how you and I met, and to share more of our love story from my vantage point.
Guys, you ready for this?
When you said that we have to do our part, faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm of the belief, still am, that as a believer, as a Christian woman believer, that the Bible says that he that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. And so I don't believe that Christian women, believers, should be chasing men, if you get what I mean by that, like being the one that are the chasers. I don't believe that. But as the Lord would have it, when you and I met, the Lord really illuminated you, I have to put it that way, before me, because you weren't someone that I had noticed otherwise, and didn't know your name or anything like that. But all of a sudden, it seemed like out of the blue, I noticed you. Now, what happened was, being an associate pastor at our local church, you knew who I was. You knew of me. We didn't know each other, but at least you knew of me.
That is correct.
And so, as God would have it, because I was so shy and just so old school and old fashioned, that the Lord had it so that I had to make the initial step in terms of reaching out to you and at least inviting a friendship. And that was something else for me. I had to seek help. I had to seek advice. What do I say? All that sort of thing. But I was the one that made the initial reaching out. I would love to get to know you. I would love to, for us to be friends. And then you accepted.
Yeah, but before that, love, I was in your class.
Yes, you were.
So you're putting my mom would say, you're putting the cart before the horse.
Right.
That's an old saying, guys. Sorry for the younger folks on YouTube. But yeah, I was in one of your classes. You taught a Bible study at our local church, and I had myself and a few of my friends decided to take that Bible study. We didn't know who was teaching the Bible study, but lo and behold, when we went the first day for class, we saw you. And for me and anybody that know me in our local church, I'm always upfront. Yes. I just believe, and I'm always like that anyways. I'm a student of just, I don't want to be distracted. So if I'm in any class or in any class settings, I'm always finding myself up front.
Yes.
And I was right up front in your class. The rest of my friends was all the way in the back. And I was the lone one up front taking in that Bible study. You taught the Bible study and you were so great. And I was just looking at every single way you were. What I saw in that Bible study is a woman of a true. I saw you preach. I saw you each and every day in church and how consistent you were. But that day for me, I saw a theologian. I saw somebody who could rightly divide the word, and you're so confident in your delivery. And I'm like, wow. This is amazing. So as I'm taking this Bible study, I'm soaking everything in. And you were teaching the class, and you remember what you were teaching about, love?
Yes, I was teaching on the spiritual gifts,
Yeah.
the gifts of the Spirit. And actually, you were in all of the classes for that series that I did. The interesting thing was that I was taking note of you long before the classes started. And so I had already gotten to the point where I wanted to get to know you, but I was so shy. I didn't know how to go about it. And certainly didn't want to, God forbid, if I should be the one to reach out to you. That was like a no-no for me. And so now here you are in class and sitting right up front. It was as if God was, we always say God has a sense of humor. He sure does. But I was like, oh my Lord, I want to get to know him. But did you have to let him come and sit right up on the front row? How am I going to actually teach and get through this class with him sitting?
Love?
Yes.
That's a mess.
Well, it might be a mess, but it was true. And then to top it off, at the end of the class, always such a gentleman. He would always come up to me, greet me as Pastor Judy, and would say how much he enjoyed the class and everything like that. And I tell you, like, I just stood there like a deer in headlights. I could hardly respond because I was just, he didn't know what was going on inside of me, but I knew it. And so that was just like taking over me. Yeah,
and it's funny because as she was, I remember one particularly, she gave a test, one exam or quiz. Whatever it was, but it's a quiz that all of us had to have. And so I did the quiz and I sent it in to her. I passed my paper in and she made a lot of correction. All I saw was red ink all over, circles, but she was very nice about it. She made it comments and just to kind of help me improve my thinking of the particular passage in a deeper level.
Yes.
And I respected that. I was like, wow. And she understood my story because she asked us to speak about our story so she get to know who we are. But I didn't realize that she had a crush. I had no idea. Here am I sitting up in front, really addressing her appropriately, like I always do anyway, because that's the right thing to do. But I had no idea until the class finished. As a matter of fact, the class abruptly ended because...
Not because of me.
Not because of her. I think something happened. Was the pandemic, love?
Well, I think the pandemic was
came
probably
after
in full swing. It hadn't
come yet. But something happened. But the class, we had 2 more weeks. And I was looking forward to those 2 more weeks. And
it was cut short.
It was cut short and she had to wrap up.
Yes.
But even in the wrap-up session, I did not realize that she had a crush. I didn't realize that she thought of me that way. So we went on our merry way. But one day, and I'm not a Facebook, anybody that know me, it took me years to have a Facebook account. I don't do social media. I don't want to have nothing to do with social media.
You do now.
But I eventually, had a second thought and I signed up for Facebook. And she reached out to me in Messenger. And I have anybody that know me, my children, my grandchildren, they laugh and have a fit all the time because they always say, Dad, you have no idea about social media. Stay off of social media. So when she sent me that, that was only God because I didn't even know what Messenger was.
Right.
But I saw this thing popped up on my phone and I happened to click on it. And when I clicked on it, it was her saying that she wants to
be Facebook friends.
To be Facebook friends.
That was my first step because I couldn't bring myself to saying, I would like to get to know you. So I said, well, I would like to be Facebook friends with you. And he accepted.
Yeah.
He accepted, and I was excited about that, but nervous too. I was like, Lord, okay, he accepted. Now I have to take the next step, but what do I say? And that's where I reached out and got a little help, a little advice from a male perspective. And then the next time around, I let him know that I was interested in getting to know him better. And to that, he accepted as well.
And we started talking
As
again
friends.
as friends, and